Before we get started here today, I just want to say a big thanks to everybody out here on YouTube, okay? It looks like, okay, at least behind the scenes, it kind of looks that way. Let me just check. Yeah, ended up hitting 800. I was going to say 100. Jesus Christ. No, the 800 subscribers, which is really cool, okay? At least that's what it is right now. It could be fucking up or down 3 or 4 by the time that this video gets published and all that shit. So, who knows? At least right now, I just want to take a note of that because YouTube's been fucking around with subscriber counts, view counts, like to dislike ratios, and it's like I don't really care at this point. I just want to get to 1,000 so I can monetize this motherfucker, and then for the end of time, don't really give a shit, okay? But thanks to everybody who decided to click the button, okay? I don't shout it out, I don't call it out, it's just hey, I'm glad some people are starting to take notice, and some people have, you know what, looked to me to enhance their opinion on current topics. I really do appreciate it, and I mean that sincerely, okay? So I wanted to get that out of the way, otherwise I would have forgot about it, because we got another story. Okay, it's kind of a follow-up on yesterday's stuff, but not really. It's just more or less like a follow-up on everything that's been going on over the past 2 years. But you got Anthony Fauci out there again, because realistically, okay, the more these emails get fucking uncovered, released, discovered, displayed for the rest of the world to see, whatever the fuck you want to call it, the more likely it's going to be that he's going to be able to stick around for as long as he wants, okay? But again, don't take that as a discouraging message, okay? That's the last thing I want you guys to take away from that, okay? Because the more people who start to understand this, the more people who start to realize that all this shit is just fucking garbage, especially what comes out of his mouth, and then the stuff that happens behind the scenes. Because when I was editing stuff up yesterday, I was listening to Get This One, okay? And I've been very open and honest about my take on this guy, but Joe Rogan, I was watching one of his podcasts, and it was with Dr. Robert Malone. If you're not familiar with him, he was one of the architects behind the mRNA technology, okay? And you know what that is, okay? So he was talking with him. He was talking with Joe on his podcast. It's about a 3-hour podcast. I got about halfway through by the time I was all done for the day, but I can't get into everything that was discussed. It's over on Spotify. It's free to watch. You can watch it at your own leisure. Okay. I was watching it about time and a half speed, so you can do it and you can get the gist of it out of there. But a lot of this stuff, man, it'll raise the hairs up on your neck. Let's just leave it at that, because you go any further and deeper into that, you're liable to get struck down, and it won't really matter how many subscribers you have on your channel. One of the central things is Dr. Anthony Fauci. Between him and Malone, it's just Tony, but that dude is a power-hungry motherfucker who will throw everybody under the bus that you can possibly find. So he's cozied up to the right people, and he's there for the long haul. So eventually, what's going to take to get rid of him? Well, you just stop paying attention to him, and you just constantly mock him every time he makes a fucking public statement. Kind of like this here. Coronavirus will affect just about everybody. Yeah. Exactly. It's one of those things that's endemic, okay? It's one of those things that we're just going to have to deal with, okay? That fucking society's going to have to learn to deal with, because this whole perversion of the idea that there's this never-ending pandemic, if we break down what the term pandemic actually means, is pan means cross borders, okay? Cross the world. Pan, a multitude of different aspects of a certain issue, okay? I know I'm not using quite possibly the correct terms, but pan just means a wide scope, okay? Basically. Endemic, an issue at hand. So every year, the common flu, pandemic. Anything that's seasonal, pandemic. Endemic means something that continues to come back over and over and over again. And guess what this is? Well, there we go. It's almost like that was a soft admission. But remember, Biden, okay, and I really do like this picture. It's unfortunate to have the garland in the background, because I would like to use it more often, because Joe looks just about as fucked up as he could possibly, but that's from a different press conference, okay? We're going to talk about his speech that he gave in Georgia, I don't know, last night at some point in time, but whatever. We'll get to that here in a quick hot second. Anthony Fauci proclaimed Tuesday that coronavirus will infect just about everybody, despite President Biden's promise in July the vaccines would prevent infection. Yeah, literally everybody out there was saying that. Okay, yeah, Biden, Harris, CDC Director Walensky, just about everybody who pulls the strings is like, oh no, yeah, it's safe and effective. But now it's like, it's safe and, you know, effective. Read between the lines. Just about everybody, regardless of vaccination status, will become infected with the coronavirus, Fauci said, told the Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions. Fauci's comments comes as Biden promised during the summer that you're not going to get the thing. Listen, I just had to strike fucking finally get off the channel, okay? So I'm not trying to, you know, rack up another one to take another vacation, so you can go ahead and read that if you'd like. As coronavirus hospitalizations reached an all-time high on Tuesday. But again, what's that thing about counting the people that are in hospital because of, you know what, trauma-related issues, but oh, you magically have the Coof, so now you're in here with the Coof. Okay, weird. It's not the first time that Biden made the promise he could not keep. But again, okay, there was also another admission, okay, and we gotta call all this stuff out. Coronavirus deaths increased 40% in 1 week. It's another one of those situations where it's counted, okay, somebody died with, not necessarily because, but it's important to differentiate the two. I'm not saying that nobody's dying from it, but at the same time, is it really those staggering, harrowing numbers that we've grown accustomed to being told, okay? Not that we're actually reading or anything like that, but coronavirus deaths have increased 40% in 1 week, CDC. Director Walensky told reporters Wednesday, well, Joe Biden said Donald Trump was responsible for the U.S. coronavirus deaths in 2020. The death rate in the past week has increased 40%. So who's to blame? Orange Man for not attacking it sooner, right? Yeah, sure. Or per the CDC's moving 7-day average, 1,633 deaths per day. An estimated 339,000 individuals have died from the Chinese Coof under Biden's watch. And we're what, like 8 days? 8 days since he took the reins, short of a year. But then you take a look. For perspective, the CDC estimates about 358,000 people have died in 2019 from stroke, Alzheimer's disease, and diabetes combined. So Joe Biden, man, you got a lot of blood on your hands. Deaths are not the only metric increasing. Hospitalizations have also ticked up 33%, according to Walensky. Tuesday's hospitalization numbers exceeded the greatest number since the pandemic began at 62 million. CDC contributed to the rise of deaths to the Omicron variant. Wow! Have you seen the other studies that are out there? It's almost like you guys are conflating numbers, but then again. But you got to take Biden at what he said, of course. In September, Biden said his top priority as president was getting COVID under control. Doing a good job there, pal. And also has a little bit of a Biden recap before we get into his speech. Biden inflation, consumer prices surged 7%, and now that's on top of the record breaking since 1990 at the end of 2021. Now it just puts it the worst since 1982. You know what? Out of the back end, coming out of the doldrums of the Jimmy Carter era. Imagine that. Wow. And just to chalk up another comparison to be made, just a little bit on this. U.S. inflation rose to the highest level in nearly 40 years in December, underscoring the high and rising inflation that has been the hallmark of the first year of Biden's presidency. Labor Department said the Consumer Price Index, which tracks what consumers pay for goods and services, rose by 7% from a year ago. That was the fastest 12-month pace since 1982, and the 7th straight month of inflation above 5%. In November, CPI was up 6.9%. What's known as core CPI, which excludes the often volatile categories of food and energy, increased 5.5% in December from a year earlier, a faster pace of price hikes than November. 4.9%. Compared with a month earlier, prices rose 0.5%. Core prices were up 0.6%. Analysts have forecasted year-over-year inflation at 7.1%, with core inflation at 5.4%. On a monthly basis, analysts were expecting prices to move up 0.4% and core 0.5%. So Joe Biden, man, breaking records on both ends, record highs and record lows, but we'll get to that towards the end. But again, these are numbers that you aren't going to see in the mainstream media because you got sycophants like this running cover for Joe Biden, and then a guy who used to be really funny, like not but 10, 15 years ago, Stephen Colbert, and I'm not talking about the fucking Colbert Report. Take that and fucking wipe your ass with it. The Daily Show and all of those fucking hanger-ons that ended up getting their own shows, they're responsible for such a hyper-partisan divide. Prove me wrong. But no, he used to guest star and he used to contribute to Tough Crowd on Comedy Central, and yeah, he was actually pretty decent. He was always a lefty, but he wasn't, you know, as sycophantic as he is now. Like yesterday when we talked about with Fauci, when he got caught on the hot mic calling Roger Marshall, appropriately so, you know, calling out Fauci for being just a corrupt motherfucker for a multitude of reasons. If you want more of that, just take a look at yesterday's video. It'll be linked in one of the iCards, probably closer to the end of the video, but anyways, Stephen Colbert cheers Fauci for calling GOP senator a moron. Get him, Fauci. Could you imagine simping for this fucking asshole? Everything you know over the past... When have the leaks come out? Because he was a flip-flopping motherfucker for the first 6 months of the pandemic. And then after that, all of the leaks and all the information started to come out on this fucking know-nothing asshole. And then imagine fucking having a pet name for him. He should be shot. But yeah, let's talk about this speech that was apparently very well attended for Joe Biden. It was scheduled for Georgia, and all of the pre-hype press for it, because you know what, it's a very rare occasion that Joe Biden actually goes out into the public and delivers a speech, but no questions afterwards. No, it was all about attacking voting rights, because that's going to be their new thing, okay? Because they're failing with the pandemic, they're failing with inflation, they're failing with the supply chain, they're failing with Afghanistan, they're failing with, well, just about everything. So what are they going to try to move on to? Well, voting rights. Yep, and by voting rights they mean just no voter ID. Everybody can just walk in, vote once, vote often. That's what they're trying to do, okay? And calling it racism and all that kind of fun shit. And wait until... what I'm hearing is tomorrow's supposed to be the ruling for the Supreme Court to come down on Biden's vaccine mandate. And I don't know how far you can take this, but early indications is that they're going to get slapped down by the Supreme Court. But in all honesty, you got places like Illinois already enacting it. Okay, you have many other private businesses already running with it, so it had its intended effect, okay, by scaring the different private industries in order to force the jab out there. And there's certain other places, we'll be talking about one specifically towards the end of the day, that are really taking that lead and fucking running with it. But the damage is already done, so this will just get struck down. You might hear about it, but then at the same time, the people who want to push this stuff, the people who just needed an opportunity to bitch and whine about the vaccines not being put in more people's arms, well, now they have their opportunity to do so. Here's a little gaffe before we get into the gist of the speech. Joe Biden suggested to black students he was arrested during civil rights struggle. Okay. Is that before or after his little tussle with Corn Pop? Because he was a bad dude. President Joe Biden told an audience of black students, the grounds of Morehouse College at Clark at Atlanta University, of course, on Tuesday that he was arrested during the civil rights struggle. There's no evidence that such an arrest ever happened. Yeah, arrest records are very public and very easily accessible, and your name, is fairly prominent and be very, very easily searchable. So you might be thinking and you might be conflating like your actual, you know, memories with other historical figures throughout time. Like, okay, maybe, okay, he was talking about a civil rights struggle, but he was talking about the Jews in Egypt around the time of the Pharaoh. So that could have happened. Did you go back that far in the records? Biden was speaking in support of Democrats' so-called voting rights legislation, including the John Lewis Voting Rights Act Advancement Act, oh my god, and the Freedom to Vote Act. Okay, the John Lewis one has already been struck down, okay? It didn't pass the Senate, and still not likely to, which are one-sided bills currently struggling to pass the Senate filibuster. More on that in a moment. In closing his speech, Biden told students at a historically black institution, you know, the ones that, Trump overwhelmingly funded, and you know what, that was a very high point of pride for him. Anyways, yeah, so I guess Biden's trying to make a mark there, whatever. Listen, dude, you could accomplish the same thing on literally every other fucking college campus, so I don't know why you went down to Georgia, but that's your choice to make, I guess. Oh, that the vote on this bill... Oh, on these bills was a defining moment, one that would mark whether leaders were on the side of Abraham Lincoln, who he called a racist during the second presidential debate, you can go back and watch it, or Jefferson Davis, he said, all right, The struggle to protect voting rights has never been, I'm not reading that slow, never been borne by one group alone. We saw freedom fighters of every race, fighters, interesting, leaders of every faith, marching arm in arm, and yes, Democrats and Republicans in Congress of the United States and the presidency. I did not live the struggles of Douglas, Tubman, King, Lewis, Goldman, Cheney, Schwerner, countless others, known and unknown. Why you were around at that time? I did not walk in the shoes of the generation of students who walked these grounds, but I walked other grounds because I'm so damn old. I was there as well. That's actually fair, and I'm glad that you, you know what, have at least a little bit of self-reflection and self-awareness. They think I'm kidding. Man, it seems like yesterday, the first time I got arrested. Anyways, their struggles here, the ones that opened my eyes as high school students in the late 1950s and early 60s, yes, when you were merely in your 30s, they got me more engaged in the work of my life. Okay, to be fair, he didn't really claim that he was arrested during a civil rights gimmick. All he was just saying that he was arrested, but I don't know if he's actually ever been arrested. That would be weird. But made similar claims before, most of which were later proved false. In 2020, he had to walk back a false claim that he was arrested in South Africa while trying to see jailed leader Nelson Mandela. I was right there at the same time. He's like, no, you weren't. But yeah, then again, he might not be lying, at least from the perspective that lying implies that you know what you're saying is incorrect. But this is Joe Biden, so you got to give him at least a little bit of leeway. So what was predating his clothes there when he was just trying to suck up to the definitely black voters? Because they probably voted for him, or you know, somebody voted for them on behalf for Joe Biden. Anyways, now he's calling for an end to the filibuster now all of a sudden because he can't get any wins anywhere. So he's like, we're going to destroy the filibuster because reasons. Unfortunately, you're still not going to have the votes because Kirsten Sinema, old fucking wine mom from Arizona, said that she won't get rid of it. But she's been very quiet on other bipartisan issues so far. And Joe Manchin, even still, I don't know, he's edging closer and closer from being, it's like, no, fuck it, if I'm going to be leaving the Democratic Party, I'm just going to be an independent and I'm still going to caucus with the Democrats. What a fucking difference to all of a sudden being like, yeah, no, I'm just going to flip to the other party. It seems like that's possible, a lot more so than when everything first started to kick off, and I just thought that he was just trying to grab the spotlight. But if he's actually putting his money where his mouth is, we'll see. But as of right now, nothing has happened, so I reserve my right to be correct. Old Uncle Joe gave a speech in Georgia Tuesday to push legislation to change the rules of voting in American elections and to advocate for the end of the filibuster if he needs to pass the voting bills. The threat to our democracy is so grave that we must find a way to pass these voting rights bills, said Biden. Debate them, vote, let the majority prevail. And at the bare minimum is blocked, we have no option but to change the Senate rules, including getting rid of the filibuster for this. Oh yeah, right. Why is that? Because you're so worried that you're gonna get a fucking absolute shit kicking at the end of the year that you're just gonna have to fix the rules in your favor. As the rule stands now, a 60-vote supermajority, 2/3. Oh, I'm sorry, 3/5 of the House, how ironic, would be required to move either of the measures forward. One bill, named for Georgia Congressman and avowed racist John Lewis, who died in 2020, thank God, passed the House along party lines in August and since stalled in the Senate because they don't have the votes. Imagine that. That measure would, among other things, require federal clearance for any changes made to local election rules. Federalized elections, which is not allowed. Okay, that's an overreach of federal authority. So even if it was passed, it would get challenged in the Supreme Court, and it would just give Joe Biden another reason why he'd want to pack the courts going forward, which he might be able to because there's not any real clear constitutional mandate that the Supreme Court needs to be 9 justices. This is just another one of those things. It's like, oh, we can't do anything in the Senate. Oh, we can't do anything in the Supreme Court. Fuck it, we're just gonna have to fix the rules in our favor. You can see it coming from a mile away. Democrats don't want free and fair elections. They want elections that only Democrats can win. Based Senator Rick Scott. Wow, I guess a broken clock can be right twice a day. On a call with reporters and the Republican National Committee chair, Ronna McDaniel, that fucking fat-headed waste of space, ahead of Biden's speech. So, as we watch last year, they've had a real difficult time, the Democrats, passing their radical agenda, so they want to change the rules. Scott, McDaniel, and others accused Biden and the Democrats of a naked power grab, saying the end goal is to not increase voter rights, but to end the filibuster. Yeah, and see, we said the things that our base likes, so go ahead and donate to us. Fuck the RNC. This is why Joe Biden is in Georgia today, said Romney on the call. This is his plan to change the Senate rules, upend the country, upend 200 years of precedent. But he's supposed to, all the people in Georgia that he was speaking to were supposed to be voting for him for the next 200 years. LBJ said so. In the Senate to change election laws and have the greatest power grab in history. Wow, that's being a touch hyperbolic there, Rana. Others in Biden's own party have spoken out against ending the filibuster. Yeah, let's hear from Good Joe. Good Joe for a moment. We need some good rule changes to make the place work better, but getting rid of the filibuster doesn't make it work better. Yeah, exactly. Because eventually, you guys are going to need it, okay? Eventually, given enough time, this hyper-partisan society we find us in, it'll eventually calm down if enough good people start to fight back against it. I'm just saying. But eventually, the filibuster is going to be needed for your guys' side. At least Manchin has the foresight to see this, but a lot of other people just think it's now or never. Everything is the most important it is. We just need to run around with our hair on fire, make every molehill into a mountain. Just fucking calm down. Have a smoke and a shit. Fucking speds. Manchin has been outspoken against provisions in Biden's Build Back Better spending plan. Oh, yeah, so much so that he killed it in the Senate. Like how Democrats want to kill 9-month-old kids. Another measure Democrats have sought to pass without any Republican support. A partisan debate over voting rules has been playing out at the state level as well. Yeah, and it's been winning in a lot of other states, except for like Illinois, where it's like, nah, fuck it, come on in, vote early, vote often. It looks like the turtle, who early indications says, I'm gonna be running for Senate Majority Leader in 2022 if we end up taking back the Senate. That's nice. Nobody likes you. Good luck. But again, this is politics, and he has so much backroom power, it's fucking nauseating. But still, you like to see that old Cocaine Mitch has a little bit of hop in his step, because he's throwing some of that rhetoric that the Democrats are using over the past, well, not last year, but between 2016 and 2020, just throwing it back in their face. Stop me if you've heard this one before. McConnell rips Biden's voting rights speech as profoundly unpresidential. Oh, it's like a warm blanket. It's like one of those old, you know what, just like your house coat. You just put it on, you just feel warm and cozy because it just reminds you of being taken care of. It's just nostalgic to hear unpresidential again in reference to a sitting president, now doesn't it? Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell ripped into President Biden's Georgia speech on the Democratic push for voting right legislation, calling it profoundly unpresidential. In the scathing address on the Senate floor, the Kentucky Republican accused Biden of calling millions of Americans domestic enemies while comparing a bipartisan majority of senators to literal traitors. Literal traitors, like actual traitors. Oh my God. How profoundly... how profoundly unpresidential. McConnell said, look, I've known, liked, and personally respected Joe Biden for many years. I did not recognize the man at that podium yesterday. Looks like you guys both have something in common. McConnell said Biden's speech was a rant, incoherent, incorrect, beneath his office, and unbecoming of the President of the United States. Was he talking about the speech that Biden gave yesterday, or the one before that? Or the one before? Anyways, he pointed to Biden's inaugural address last January, in which a newly sworn-in president said, every disagreement doesn't have to be a cause for total war. LOL! That was just 12 months ago. But yesterday, he poured a giant can of gasoline on fire, the senator said. Later adding that Biden said anyone who opposes smashing the Senate and letting Democrats rewrite election laws is a domestic enemy and a traitor like Jefferson Davis. What about Jefferson Airplane, though? That would be a tragedy. During Biden's speech, he likened supporters of the voting rights bill to civil rights icons and foes to segregationists and Confederate leader Davis. Yeah, it's so nice when he can reminisce about his elementary classmates. Consequential moments in history, they present a choice, said Biden in his speech. Do you want to be on the side of Dr. King or George Wallace? The nice guy with the Kangol hat from Seinfeld? Oh no, sorry, different one. Do you want to be on the side of John Lewis or Bull Connor? I don't need to be a race-baiting piece of shit, so tell me more about this Bull Connor guy. I jest. Now, do you want to be on the side of Abraham Lincoln or Jefferson Davis? Do you want to be on the side of the Republicans or the Democrats? Your choice is yours. The sitting president of the United States compared American states to totalitarian states. Well, it's a fair comparison. He's just not comparing the right groups against one another. He said our country will be an autocracy if he does not get his way. Yeah. You could also bring up another comparison to, once again, the presidential debates. I have no life. But when Biden was saying and campaigning on this as well, that he wasn't going to legislate and he wasn't going to rule as president and by dicta, and he wasn't going to executive power his way through authority. No, of course not. Definitely not living up to that. So the world saw our commander-in-chief propagandize his own country in the way that would have made Pravda blush. Wow, good call. Wow, gotta give props. Dab up the turtle. Referring to the old Soviet Union propaganda newspaper. Connell repeatedly called Biden's Tuesday speech a rant, adding it was designed to pull our country apart and undermines our democracy. Yeah, but to be fair, nobody really watched it because nobody pays attention to Joe Biden because nobody likes Joe Biden. And if, once again, the rating, or, well, not his ratings, but his approval, well, I guess it is ratings. The approval rating is anything to go on. I can't believe I'm reading this. And this isn't from like a Breitbart news poll, okay? This isn't from even a remotely right-leaning source. This is from Quinnipiac, okay? Giving him a 33% approval rating. That, I don't think Trump ever got that low. Holy fuck. This is bad, guys. A new Quinnipiac University poll on Wednesday revealed that Joe Biden's approval rating sits at just 33%. With 53% of Americans disapproving of his job performance. Over half of people disapprove of Joe Biden. 33% of brainwashed idiots are like, no, this is cool. This is down from the last time Quinnipiac asked that question in November, when 36% of Americans approved, while 53% disapproved. So the people who hate him still hate him, but even, you know, some of the diehards are like, oh God, okay, I know we're standing in this boat and it's sinking, and I could stand my ankles and maybe my shins getting wet, but now it's up to my hips, and before we all die of diphtheria, I'm gonna go ahead and hop out. So, of those that disapproved, a whopping 43% said that they strongly disapprove of his job performance. Wow. So, 53% of people total disapprove. 43% strongly disapprove? Jesus. 17% said that they strongly approve, 16% said that they somewhat approve, and 10% said that they somewhat disapprove. Okay, so the quarter of enlightened centrists that are out there, you can chalk that up whatever way you want, but only 17%, okay, that's the diehard, that's the base. No wonder they're looking at fucking life rafts for 2024, because they can see, okay, the writing's on the wall, okay? This spells everything but a success come the midterms, okay? You look at the numbers, okay? You take Joe Biden 17%, you add in the 16%, and then you got you drastically go down your chance of winning at sacrifice. Hope you're not sick of that reference, because I'm going to keep bringing it up every single fucking time we run the numbers. But yeah, just to break it down just a touch further, Quinnipiac asked surveys about Biden's handling of three key issues: the economy, foreign policy, and Coof response. Oh my God, this has got to be brutal. Just 34% of people approved of Biden's handling of the economy, 57% disapproved. 70% of Americans also said the economy was not in good shape. Okay, good, at least they're centered on reality. 54% said the economy is getting worse, not better. 35% approved of his foreign policy response, and 54% said that they disapproved. And as for the Coof, 39% approved of Biden's handling. All right, that's, I guess, the best thing that he's doing. And 55% said that they disapproved. Yeah, continuing to back lame horses. Imagine that. But oof, last one. 39% said that Biden is doing a worse job than they expected. 2/5 of people out there think that Biden's doing even worse than they anticipated. What did they think he was going to do to begin with? Because honestly, I just thought that it would be kind of status quo, back to the old machine, okay? Back to the same fucking platform that everybody's been running on since H.W. Bush, okay? The exact same thing, just with a blue tint, okay? But this has been catastrophic failure after catastrophic failure. So yeah, I don't know where the heads of these people at. The 7% said that he's doing better than expected. Maybe they just had like really low expectations, like he would have just keeled over after putting his hand on the Bible and getting sworn in and on January 20th, 2021. But if anybody was anticipating anything great, oh my fucking God, sorry about that. But yeah, man, that's a wrap up on U.S. politics for the day. Yeah, now we're going to stray off to Canada. I know it's been a minute since I've been able to talk about the True North strong and can't even say that one anymore. It's the True North, all right, and somebody's strong, and it makes me sick to my stomach. So let's talk about that up next if you are so inclined. Otherwise, we got a fun story for the third one out of the day, and just give a little bit of time for that one. With that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.